Okay, now we were just talking a little bit before about the face of, or who could be the face of Bellator MMA, and I'll just ask you, I guess, a bigger picture question about the UFC in this case, because for me it seems like right now there's two potential faces in the UFC, and that's Jon Jones and I believe Ronda Rousey. So I'd like to ask you, who do you think is the bigger draw in the UFC right now, Jones or Rousey?
Oh, bar none, Ronda Rousey. And she's the biggest star in the entire organization, and will continue to be so for a long time. Just organic, the death of the men's sport, came when Dana made himself a star. Because unless Dana was going to fight somebody, the story ends there. So, he's been stealing the, chi from all the stars for a long time. But Ronda is, she's beautiful, she's strong, and, she gets the job done. She's a PR dream. Jones is still misunderstood in the media and, not consistent with his brand. But, I think Ronda, God bless her. I think she's an amazing fighter. And I think she's going to do wonderful things with this sport, but I don't think she's going to hang around too long.
You think she's headed to Hollywood for good after this?
Of course. I mean, once you realize that you could make millions of dollars for standing around in front of a camera and not training all day and crippling yourself, which you got to live in for the rest of your life in that body, everybody makes a switch.
And I'd also like to ask you about just some recent current events here, which was the recent brawl at the press conference between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. Was this good for the sport, bad for the sport, or does it even matter?
It doesn't matter. It's bad for the sport, and it's good for pay-per-view, which is about money, which is really what main focus seems to be. I thought it was terrible. And to see a fellow champion, Olympian involved in something like that was just, I thought it was disgraceful.
Do you think that it was staged, or was that real?
I think regardless, whoever wrote the storyline, whoever carried it out, I don't think was in the right. I don't care if it was real, if it was fake, it could have been whatever. I don't think it was right. If you don't have the skill set to sell a pay-per-view and that's what you're working down to, then maybe you should work harder on your presentation.
So I wanted to also get your thoughts on TRT, because I just did an interview with Tito Ortiz, and he basically had very harsh words saying any guys that are on TRT, they need to retire right now. What are your feelings on fighters that use TRT and other PEDs?
Well, I think that they should be used for what they're for, which is people recovering from cancer and serious illnesses. But I don't think there's a place for them in professional sports at all, because technically it's cheating. So I've never done them. I don't believe in them. I'm from the old school where I thought it was a bad idea. I was shocked that the sport accepted it, that the commission allowed people to do it. And I frankly was glad I was retired, when all that was going down. So I felt like it was a huge black eye on our sport.
Okay, now I want to jump back in the past a little bit and discuss some old school mixed martial arts, because most of my viewers and readers know that's my world. So I want to ask you, I guess one of the most important questions to me ever, and that's why did we never see Frank Shamrock fight in Pride?
So close. You know what? At the time, I was the biggest fighter in the world and was a free agent and was negotiating directly with Pride USA. And we got all the way to the end of a contract, which took eons if we've ever done business with the Japanese. And there was a line in there that just never made sense. And they wanted me to be ready to fight anybody within 15 days, within 15 pounds. And that was the terms of the contract. And then the only reason I really wanted to fight them was to fight Sakuraba. So I was there saying, put his name on the contract, and they were there saying, well, we want you to just add this 15 days, 15 pounds. I was like, look, I'm supposed to retire. I'm doing all this. I can't turn everything around in 15 days and be ready to fight somebody. I go, it doesn't work like that for me. And that was the end of it. It never went past those two points. They would never put Sakuraba on the contract, and they would never get off 15 days and 15 pounds.
I was just going to say, in fact, it kind of sounded like you had a Sakuraba-style contract. So, he had something similar where they'd have an event being promoted, and all of a sudden, Sakuraba's on it fighting someone that weighs, way more than he ever should have been fighting in. So,
yeah. I had done business in Japan for years and years and years, so I knew what those contracts meant. And when I fought Anthony Noe, who at the time was the heavyweight Shuso champion, we fought the UFC qualifier match for the first middleweight title fight. I made more money in him not making weight than I made in the match itself. Because I knew no one's going to enforce the weight. No one cares. We're in Japan. Whatever they want to do, they're going to do. But I felt like that was happening with the I was too far along with my brand and my career and my direction to take that risk anymore.
Now, I do want to jump also to, I guess, a little bit forward to the future in regards to this. About 2010, when there was talk of you and Pat Miletich having a fight in Strikeforce. Can you tell us why that fight never materialized?
Well, I think that was all Pat. I had no intention of fighting. I was really focused on broadcasting, and there's a few more opponents in Strikeforce. I knew that I needed to fight for the company and brand and the opportunity. And Pat was just never on my radar, and that was all kind of him getting it together. But he wanted to fight me back in the days, from the old UFC days when, I was a big star and he was kind of, working his way up and figuring out how to get to the top. So he's been kind of hounding me for a while, but it was never really in my coffers. It was never something I seriously considered.
Okay. Now, I guess just looking back on your career as a total, I mean, before you retired, was there anybody that you tried to set up a fight with that never panned out? Or just in general, was there a dream fight that you wanted to happen that you never got to have?
The only ones were Sakuraba and Champ. Those are the two fights that I just wasn't able to, I just couldn't figure it out. Once I was a free agent in 1999, after that point, I could choose my fighter, I could pick the champion. I mean, I would literally call the owner of the company and be like, I want your champion, like old school. It was a different era of, growing. And, the sport was different. I don't know, totally changed now.
All right, well, everybody who's listening, you guys can check out Gym Rescue on Spike TV, premiering this Sunday, August 10th on Spike at 10 p.m. Eastern. Frank, thanks again so much for your time today, and I hope you guys get greenlit for another season.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Frank. Have a good day.